Right, no?
Yeah.
After?
He was everything.
Deze kan ik naar zeggen. Ik kan naar zeggen. We were asked to say some divrei psicha to the new Zman. A long winter ahead of us. Doesn't feel like it yet, does it? We'll get there. Today was Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan. Just about finished. Rosh Chodesh. We'll speak a little bit about the Chodesh and the Avodah that's ahead of us now. There's an interesting Medrash Rabbah in the end of Parshas Chukas. The end of Parshas Chukas, the Torah talks about the Milchama that Klal Yisrael held the Milchama with Sichain Melech Heshbon. There was one war they waged against Sichain, and then there was a second war. End of Parshas Chukas, it says they fought again with Og Melech Habashon. Two giants, Sichain and Og, two separate wars. So the Medrash in the end of Parshas Chukas says, the last piece of Medrash, Yesh Oimrim, some say, Asu Melchemes Sichain be'Elul. Melchemes Sichain was in Elul, and Melchemes Og Vachikach Asu es HaRegel. After that war was over, they celebrated the Regel of Sukkot. After the Regel, first, after the Regel, after the Yom Tov of Sukkot, then came a new battle. Then was the battle of Og. Asu Melchemes Og. And the Medrash brings a raya, because the Pasuk says, in the end of Chukas, by the Melchama of Og, Vayifnu, Vayalu derech Habashon. It says Vayifnu, they turned about face, and they went the path of Bashan. Vayetze Og melech Habashon lekrosam hu v'chol amri milchama edrei. So it says Vayifnu. And after Sukkot, after the Regel, it also says such a lashon in Torah. V'alis ufanisa baboker v'halachta lo yhalech. It says when Yom Tov is over, ufanisa, turn around and go back home. Ufanisa baboker v'halachta lo yhalech. So Chazal learned from that just like over there, it's a reference. It's Acha HaRegel is ufanisa. This vayifnu is also after the Regel. That's the Medrash. The question is, what does this have to do with us, and why do we have to know it? We talked about other times. Let's bring it to what's negir to us. So Svarim explain there was two Milchamas over here. It's a constant Milchama. We say in Tehillim, we say in Psukei Zimul Shabbos, the Sichen L'makei Melachim Gedolim Ki La'olam Chasdei. The Sichen Melech HaMoiri Ki La'olam Chasdei. V'Yog Melech HaBashan Ki La'olam Chasdei. It's a chesed that's for eternity. It's not just there was once this war. This represents a constant milchama. Another proof to that point is the lashon of the pasuk is always Sichain Melech HaMeri Ha Yoshev. It doesn't say Sheyoshav. It says Ha Yoshev. He's still sitting. He's still there. There's a koyach called Sichain which we have to fight with. We have to contend with. And then there's Og Melech HaBashan HaYoshev BeAshtoris BeEdrei. Ashtoris is, Rashi says, Ashtoris is the name of the Medina. That's how it was called, because it was fortified strongly. And BeEdrei, Rashi says, is Mekayim HaMilchama. Chidush Erim explains that Sichain is a koyach that fights the concept of Cheshbon. It's called Melech Cheshbon. Cheshbon means a person should plan and think of what he's doing in this world, what his actions are. It's Cheshbon. Cheshbon HaNefesh. Sichain is the one that tries to block a person from doing Cheshbon. Moses says Sichain is Melech HaRod, but I'm going to go into Arichas in that part. The Sikha tries to tell a person to live a happy life and don't make too many cheshbonos, just enjoy yourself. That's Sikha. Elul, that Milchama is an Elul. Elul is a time when we have to make cheshbon. And see, that's what Elul is designated for, to make a cheshbon hanefesh, what's doing with us. Sikha comes to fight every year. When we have Elul comes, there's a battle. Sikha wants to stop us from doing cheshbon. And that's the battle that we have, and that continues all the way, as it says in Chazal, till Sukkot. Achikach also as a regel. If you know, we're not going into Arichas, it says in Chazal that Sukkot is Rishon l'cheshbon avenos. So it seems that till Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, then we go into a Sukkah a little bit away from the world, out of the house. We can think a little differently. We see the Schach, we see the Shechina, we're in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Dira. There's a time for Cheshbon. That's one war. There's a second Milchama. Acher HaRegel is a new Milchama, and that's called Milchemes Oik. That's the Milchama of Oik. And Oik, in which area is his Milchama? It says in the Pasuk, Be'edrei. Rashi says that's the place, Mekrim HaMilchama, that's the focus of the Milchama is Be'edrei. What's the Taich Edrei? So Chedush Shirim says Edrei is the Targum of Droya, which means the hand, the Zoya. Oig comes after Sukkot. We went to Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, we had Sukkot, nice Yom Tov, and we made plans. Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur is all making cheshbonis and seeing how we could become better and what we could do to become better. Most of us made all kinds of kabbalas, probably little ones, bigger ones. How are we going to become better people? But the mice of the new Zman doesn't start the day after Yom Kippur. Yes, we get into a busy time with Baruch Hashem mitzvahs. We go into days of Yom Tov, which are days where there's more we feel more spiritual, and we feel okay. We don't feel the battle so strong. We could think that it's going to be good from now on. We go on a cruise. It's going to be good. But Acher HaRegel, when the regel is over, we're going back into the world of Maisim. Go back into that world. We have to try to implement our Maisim. We have to try to bring Lamaisa, all our plans, all our cheshbonis, all our kabbalas. Now is the time to put them into action. And here comes Oik. Oik comes and he tries to fight with us in all different ways. It says, V'chol Amoy. He has a lot of people helping him out in this war. He could say, listen here, you made kabbalas last year, it didn't seem to work. What makes you think it's going to work this year? Forget about it. You wait again, you'll have another Elul, you'll make cheshbonis again. But what makes you think that you're going to be matzliach? It says in the Pasuk, in next week's Parasha Lech Lecha, that it talks about Oig, after the Mabul. It says there that Oig came to Avraham Avinu. It says he was Meyeseh HaRefoim. Rashi says they were called the Reform, they were big giants. Why were they called the Reform? Shekol Avoya Oisai, anybody just looks at him, Yodov Misrapos. His hands, Misrapos, feel weak. So it seems that Oig comes to weaken the person's koyach that he has with his hands, his koyach of Maisim. And he tries to weaken that attitude and the enthusiasm that a person wants to put himself together. He's back in yeshiva for a new Zman, a new start. And Oig is here. Now starts Milchemes Oig. That's the pashtus. What the Medrash is telling us, Acher HaRegel is Milchemes Oig. It's interesting. Every Chodesh we have Yud Beis Chadoshim. The Torah tells us that in Hilchos Reish Chodesh that the Yud Beis Chadoshim are connected the Yud Beis Shvatim. every Shevet, first of all, every Chodesh has a certain Avodah that's designated for that Chodesh. We'll soon come back to that. The Sefer Yetzirah tells us different koiches that there are in the Nefesh, 12 different koiches, and every Chodesh there's an Avodah to work, special, unique for that Chodesh. And there's 12 Shvatim where each Shevet had special koiches. Every Shevet had a different uniqueness in Avodas Hashem to be able to help out Klal Yisrael. Chodesh Cheshvan, which we go according to the Seder of the Golem, is Keneged Shevet Menashe. Don was Ephraim. Tishrei was Ephraim. Cheshvan is Menashe. Kislev will be Binyamin. That's the Degel of Ephraim. So Cheshvan is Menashe. Who took the land of Sichon and Og? Who took Mamleches Og? If you look in the Psukim and Dvarim, Chukas and Dvarim, it says, Kol Chevel Ha'argov, Mamleches HaBoshon, Moshe Rabbeinu gave to Chatzi Shevet HaMenashe. Menashe took over the Chelik of Boshon. It would seem that Menashe has a shaykhis to this avodah, to the avodah to fight against Og, As it says in Svarim, Menashe has the oisius neshama. The avodah of Menashe is to keep the neshama clean. The Ramban in his Hakdama to Chumash Devorim, Rabbi Yochanan and Shari Tshuva both say the same types. We say in Shir Amalas Mimamakim, which we said Yomim Neiron. It says over there, Ki Imcha Haslicha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Slicha is with you, the Koyach to forgive and to cleanse us. L'man Tivorei. What's L'man Tivorei? In order that we should be able to have Yiras Shamayim, Yiras Chet. If a person's suit is dirty, he doesn't wash himself so much anymore. It's dirty anyway, you should get another stuff. So, right? Carpet is dirty. It's dirty anyways. But if the room is freshly painted, the suit came from the cleaners, especially if it's a new suit, you're much more careful. So we say, if you want us to have Yiras Chet, cleanse us. If we'll be clean, then we'll feel the pachad of getting dirty. We know we're cleansed already. My mother says, person knows that he just washed up. So we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, one of the things that we gain from the slicha is that we can start a new slate, and it will help us be careful. We'll be more careful. If we'll have slicha, L'man Tivorei, we will be more careful. There's a lot to talk about, so I'm going to make it fast. I'm going to rely a little bit on some of these things we said once before. I'm not sure everybody here was part of it. The Maisa, we said over from the Ariyah Kodesh, a very interesting thing. The Ariyah Kodesh says that Og is Melech HaBoshon. So he says that the word Boshon is the Rosh Tevis Shimon ben Nisano. What does that mean? Shimon ben Nisano. Boshon is the Rosh Tevis of Shimon ben Nisano. Who is Shimon ben Nisano? It's interesting that in the Mishnah, in Shisha says the Mishnah, it never says only one time. In the Mishnah, in Oves, in Perek Beis, it tells us Rabbi Yechim and Zakkai had 5 special Talmidim, and one of those 5 Talmidim was Shimon ben Nisano. And over there, it says in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yechim and Zakkai said that the specialty of each one, what was Shimon ben Nisano, and what was he so special? The Mishnah says, Rabbi Yechim ben Zakkai says, he is a Yereichet. Shimon ben Nisano was somebody who was a Yereichet. He was afraid of sin. Says Riyah Kodesh that the koyach, that neshama, that special koyach of Shimon ben Nisano, the koyach of Yiras Chet, was bishvi, was conquered by Og. Oig didn't want to let it out. Oig took that neshama of Shimon ben Samuel and he held it in captivity. And that's why he had such a koyach to be put a pachad on people. He was from the Aimim, from the Reform, as Rashi says. Anybody who looked at him became frightened, but he had the koyach of the Yira was created for a purpose, to be afraid of Chet. Yira Shemayim, Yira Chet. And he held that in captivity. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu was afraid of him, because he had that koyach. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu, Al tira Isai, don't be afraid of Shimon ben of Oig. Although he has a koyach from Yiras Chet, you'll fight and you'll take it back from him. Ki biyodacham nasati Isai, I'm going to give back the koyach of Yiras Chet. It's interesting, we said that before, just after interesting, more than interesting, that the words Al tira Isai is the gematria Shimon ben Samuel. Exactly. The Arizal didn't tell us where Arizal was becoming such a way. We see it's Marumas in the Pasuk. Al Tira Isa is exactly the gematria of Shimon ben Samuel. That's the koyach that Oig had. And if we fight with Oig after the regel, it seems that that's the Avodah. The Avodah is Yiras Chet. We just finished saying the Avodah is Yiras Chet. After the Slicha, you should remember, Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu cleansed us. We have to have emunah. And what the Torah promises that to Torah we're going to be cleansed. But to take advantage of that Torah and keep the neshama clean. That's the avodah that was taken. In Melchemes Oig, Moshe Rabbeinu regained the koyach to give Klal Yisrael a koyach of Yiras Chet. In the Birchas Rosh Chodesh that we say every Chodesh, we bench Rosh Chodesh, the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh. There's a special Yehirotzen that we say, and that Yehirotzen we say 11 times. We say Chaim. Chaim. No, how does it start? Sitin Lono, Chaim Aruchem, Chaim Shel Sholem, Chaim Shel Brocha, Chaim Shel Toiva. There's 11 times Chaim because we make Birchas HaChodesh 11 times. Tishrei we don't make Birchas HaChodesh. There's 11 Birchas HaChodesh. It was Mistab, I believe it says like that in the Siddurim as well. That there's one Keneged each Chodesh. You have to know how to connect them. But there's one Chaim for each Chodesh. There's a special Chaim. One of those Chaims is Chaim Sheyesh Be'em Yiras Shemayim Yiras Chet. It would seem that that's miyuchet, that's special for Chodesh Cheshvan. Chodesh Cheshvan is Chaim Sheyesh Be'em to work on this Nekuda. And Yiras Shemayim v'Yiras Chet, to implement the Laman Tivorei. That's the Avodah of Chodesh Cheshvan and the Koyach of Menashe. It's interesting, more than interesting, but make it quick. In the Mishnah, if you look in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Yochanan ben Zakkai asked his Talmidim, what should you, each Talmud was asked, what's the Midah Tova, Sheyidbek Bo Ha'adam? It's a good midah that a person should stick to, and that way gain what that Talmud special uniqueness. Shimon ben Sanel said what's special. Shimon ben Sanel says to be roya es hanolet. To be roya es hanolet, to see the outcome of things, to see what's going to happen if you do Pasha. That's mamish the key to Yiras Chet. The key to Yiras Chet is, it says in the Mishnah, have a mechasha. The person should think, what am I going to gain, and what do I have to gain, and what do I have to lose? What am I going to lose by doing this chet? And what am I going to gain? I'm going to gain a temporary hana, and it might hurt my neshama for a long time. Rashi, we always say the Rashi in the end of Pashas Kisisa, boy ure'ei, like it says the Lashon re'ei, v'roy es hanoila, boy ure'ei, kama chet goyrem. A person has to think it's not so easy. A person has to work. We just went through Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. It's an avodah to try to do tshuva and get rid of a chet. Does it pay? Shimon ben Sanel tells us that's the way to, one of the key to Yiras Chet is to be roya es hanolet. That's the key to Yiras Chet. Al kol panim, That's the Nekudas HaAveda after the Regel, starting a new slate to see to keep clean. How do we do that? How do we do that? We learned in last week's Parshas Bereshis, the beginning of Chumash, that the day Adam was created, he already sinned. That was the Chet of the Nochash. The Chet of the Nochash happened right in the Tchilas Habriya. Aleph Tishrei, Adam Rishon was created, and Boi Bayom, he already sinned right before Shabbos. Rashi says in the Mishnah in Oveis, the Mishnah says, Hakina v'yatayva v'yakoved moitziin es ha'odam in ha'olam. Kina, taiva, and koved, that's what takes a person out of this world. Moitziin es ha'odam min ha'olam. Rashi says in Pirkei Avos, ha'odam goes on Adam Rishon. And Adam and Rashi shows how in the Chet of the Nachash was included all the three Chatorah, all the three bad midas, Kina, Taiva, and Koved. That's the Yesod of Chet in this world is Kina, Taiva, and Koved. That's Meitzian as Ha'odam and Ha'olam. The Oveis Hagdashim, let me go before that, but soon if we get a chance, we'll maybe see inside the Svasemis. The Svasemis brings from the Kohen Samagit, from others. Now, we learn the beginning of Chumash, the Parshas, we see that those were the main Chaton. First one is the Der HaMabel. The Der HaMabel sinned in what does he say? The HaMabel sinned Pashtus, we would say in Taiva, correct? And over here it says
Gaza.
So, yeah, okay, both. So he says Cain was Kina. Cain was jealous of Hevel. The Der HaMabel was Taiva. Hishris Kolbosas Dake al Haaretz. And the Der HaFloga, which is a difficult parasha to understand, but it says in the pasuk, the Nasa Lonu Shem. They wanted to make themselves famous. It says in the pasuk that way. So they were looking for covet. But the Tchilas HaParshi is before the Ovis came to the scene. There's Kina and Taiva and covet. The Ovis Hagdoshim, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, it says in the Chazal like that clearly, they came to be Mesakin, the Chet of Eitz Hadas. What Adam was Mekalkel, what Adam spoiled, and he brought Chet to the world, and he brought the kin of Taiva and covet inside a person, and it becomes a difficult battle. The Ovis came to correct that. Kina and Taiva and covet, Avraham is Chesed, the opposite of Kina. Yitzchak is Aveda, he became a Kolben, the opposite of Taiva. Yitzchak became a Skadesh, a Kedusha Kolben. Kedusha, the opposite of Taiva. And Yaakov Avinu is covered, Yaakov Avinu is Torah, and covered Ela Torah. But they always came to be Mesakin that. And if we spoke about it already, all the Swarm speak about it, the whole Aveda of the 3 Yom of Rosh Hashanah, the Aveda of the Tkiya, Sholosh, the Mishnah says, the 3 Yom Tovim that are in Chodesh Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. And we also finished the whole cycle of the 3 Regalim. They all came to be Mesakin, these 3. Kina and Taiva and Kovet, that's the Aveda to be Mesakin. We mentioned, we said it already, Tzaddik says, interesting Nekuda, that Kina, Taiva and Kovet is the Gematria exactly of Sheker. That's the world of Sheker that we're in. And we asked already a kasha, a good kasha. It says in Chazal, in the beginning of the Bria, Emes Oma Al Yivra. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rashi says, Nas, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, should we create Adam? Nasa Adam. And there was opposition. Emes said, you can't create Adam. How could he create Adam? He won't survive. It's a world of Sheker. How is he going to be able to find the Emes? He'll never find the Emes. And Shalom Oma Al Yivra. Shalom also said, a world of machloikis. It's not shaykh, it's not possible for Adam to survive and be a person of Shalom in a world of Ketata. But the Eibishter created the world, and he created Adam. What happened with the Taina? Al Yivra, Emes Al Yivra, Shalom Al Yivra. How does that happen? As Vasema says, for that Chazal say, Istakel bi Eiraisa ubora alma. HaKadosh Baruch Hu looked into the Torah. There's a Torah. And if there's a Torah, you could create a world. And as we know from this Vasema, Chedush Olam comes from the word heaven. Our world is a world that things are concealed. The emes is concealed. It's not in front of our eyes. We have to search for the emes. But the Eibishter gave a Torah. And if we have a Torah, we'll be able to find the emes. We'll be able to find and live b'sholem as the Torah directs us. The Torah is Kol Nesiv Yisrael Sholem. D'Acher D'Achei Noyam. The Kol Nesiv Yisrael Sholem. The Torah is emes. Right in the beginning of the Bria, Bereshis Bara Elokim, the Baal HaTurim tells us is the Sefer Tevis is emes. Bereshis Bara Elokim, the Sefer Tevis is emes. Why is it emes? It says in Schor that Bereshis Bara Elokim is the exact gematria of Torah, Nevi'im, and Ksuvim. That's Bereshis Bara Elokim. That's the Torah. Asher bocha b'divreyim anemorim be'emes. Correct? Those Bereshis Bara Elokim, that's the Bria of Torah. That will help us find the emes. And that's what we find in this parsha. Noach, as Rashi says, amongst the whole day, Noach remained Ish Tzadik, Tomim Hoya B'Dereisov. In the two Deires, there was the Deir Mabel and there was the Deir Flogger, two different Yetzaharas. And Noach stayed pure. How did he manage that? So Chazal say, Mikan Shalom Abba. Rashi brings. Rashi says, even though he explained because I'm taking maybe a bit out of context, I'll explain how Rashi said it. It says in the pasuk that Hashem told Noach to bring behemoths into the teva, to bring all the different animals, the chayas and everything, those that are tahirim. Rashi says tahirim meant those that are pure, and they weren't tainted in any way by the immorality of the bria. Right? What pshat? A behemoth has bchira. How is it that some behemoths were hishres kol basa as dark al oretz? The behemoths became one is davga with not their men, and some not, and some yes. So all the song, whoever tries to explain it in this way. Man, the Torah gave the kerech to Adam. Hashem said, Adam, uvedu, he is the one who controls the bria. Chol shata tachas ragel, the whole bria is under the control of Adam. If Adam sins, then the whole bria becomes sinful, not because of bchira, that's because of Adam. When it says in Rashi that when Adam ate from the Eitz Hadas, it says Gam l'rabbeis behemach hayev yoif. It doesn't mean that Adam took the apple, if it was an apple, took the fruit and he cut it into little pieces and he gave it to the whole bria. It means that if Adam took it, Adam is the bria. Adam encompasses the whole bria. So by taking from the Eitz Hadas, he affected the whole bria. Noach was Ish Tzadik. He was a Tzadik, he was a Tomim. He kept himself pure. And there, the Kedusha. So there's a world that belongs to Noach. Just like all the bad people and all the Rishon affected the world around their world, the behemoths that were affected by them, Noach also infused a certain chelik of the Bria with Kedusha. Yavoyu Eilecha, that's Noach's world. Whatever came into the Teva is Noach's world. So you could say that Rashi is saying, the fact that Noach had an influence on the Bria and kept the Bria, a certain chelik of the Bria Betara, how did he manage that? That was Mikan Shalom Noach. That was Mikan Shalom Noach. In fact, The Medrash in Parshas Mishpatim, there's a Medrash that says that when you go into Arichas, the Medrash brings a Pasuk and Eof to back it, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu offered the Der HaMabel certain things that they'll be able to get out of trouble. They'll be able to do tshuva. They'll be able to purify themselves, even after the worst situation they were in. And one of the four things the Medrash says, the Eibishter offered them the Torah. The Eibishter wanted to give the Der HaMabel Torah. The Torah would have helped them. The whole B'sarei Marpei, the Torah has that ability, but they didn't want. They said the Torah, Das Rachecha Lo Chafatznu, we're not interested. That was the Koyach of Torah. That's Pshat. There's no other Pshat probably. The Gemara says at the end of in Chulin, B'Kuf Lametes, Moshe min HaTorah minayin. Where do we see Moshe Rabbeinu in the Torah? The Gemara brings a pasuk in the end of Bereshis, by the beginning of the Der HaMabel. It says, Lo yodain ruchi ba'adam b'shagam hu basa. The Gemara says that word, b'shagam, is the gematria of Moshe. 345. The Gemara has really no pshat first of all. Whether you're looking for Moshe min HaTorah minayin. Moshe is all over the Torah. You have to look for a gematria of Moshe. Why isn't this possible? The emes of Pshat in the Gemara means, where do you see the strongest koyach that Moshe takes min HaTorah? The koyach that Moshe has from the Torah to help a person get out of the dumps where the Der HaMabel were. Where do you see Moshe Rabbeinu had that koyach? B'shagam is b'gematria Moshe, which is a reference to that Medrash in Zohar. It says clearly that the Eibishter wanted to give Torah's Moshe to help the Der HaMabel out. They didn't want. That's why Rashi says in the beginning of the Parsha that in the beginning the rain came slow. It could have been Gishmei Bracha, Rashi says. However, it wasn't Gishmei Bracha because they didn't do tshuva. What means it would have been Gishmei Bracha? That's what I'm saying. It means Geshem Yarif Kamot Alikri means Torah. It could have been 40 days of Matan Torah. Instead of the 40 days of the rain, which destroyed the world, it could have been 40 days of Bracha, which would cure the world, would purify the world. But they didn't want Gishmei Bracha. They didn't want the V'zois HaBracha HaShaberach Moshe. But if they would have wanted, they could have changed these 40 days into 40 days of Torah of Bracha. While I'm at this, let me just share an interesting Medrash Tanchuma at the end of Parshas Noach. In Tanakh, when Shlomo HaMelech built the Beis HaMikdash, it says he completed it in this Chodesh, Cheshvan, the Torah talk, the Nach refers to it as Yerach Bul. Beis Vav Lamed. Doesn't say Cheshvan. Here it says Yerach Bul. Chazal tell us that it's a reference to Chodesh Cheshvan, but it's called Yerach Bul Beis Vav Lamed. Why is it called Beis Vav Lamed? What's the tam? First, I don't want to hide from you the pashta. Pashta tam is because it's from the word boloi. As you walk in the street, you notice the leaves are starting to fall off the trees. The chiyus of the bria, the life that there is starting to wither. That's the type of boloi. Pashta, that's the simple reason for Yerach Bul. The growth that there was till now it goes into the different system, the system of the winter months. It seems like the bria starts like that. There's a boloi. That's the simple. Some Svarim say that bull are the oisius of the beginning and the end of Torah, and the middle. That means, we said before, there's Torah, Nevi'im, and Ksuvim. The Torah starts with the base, it's Bereshis. Nevi'im starts with a Vav, Vayiyach Emes Yeshua. And Divrei Hayomim, which is the end of Ksuvim, ends with a Lamed. It's a Yerach, it's a Chodesh where there's a Hashpah of Torah. Why is there a Chodesh where there's a Hashpah of Torah? Because it could have been so. It started off as Gishmei Bracha. So it still remains in the Bria the possibility to use, if a person uses this month as to sit and learn Torah, he's to a special Hatzlocha and Siyata D'Shmai in Torah. So it's brought in this way. Let me get back to the Medrash. But the Medrash has a very interesting time. The Medrash says that until Shlomo HaMelech built the Beis HaMikdash, from the time of the Mabul, every year there was 40 days, just like the Mabul was 40 days, there was 40 days of strong rain. It wasn't the Mabul, didn't destroy the world, but there was strong rains for 40 days straight. That's like a illusion. There's still some kind of impression from the Mabul every year. Shlomo HaMelech built the Beis HaMikdash, stopped. The sun started to shine in these days. The rain, the 40-day rain that was regular every year periodically from the time of the Mabul till the Beis HaMikdash was 40 days. Now it's stopped. So the Medrash says that that's why it's called Yerach Bul. It just doesn't sound like a Medrash. Because the Mem from Mabul fell off. The Mem is the 40 days. So the Mem fell off, you're left with Beis Vav Lamed. That's how it says in the Medrash. And that's why Zeh, Dafkin, but never calls it Yerach Bul again, only one time by the Beis HaMikdash. When the Beis HaMikdash was built, it says Bul, because the Mem fell off. The Rekeach ala Torah, is Ramis to that. It's a son. He writes very, very big kids, so maybe one line, maybe it's 2 lines. Very big kids. He writes over there. It says this as words. Ha-teva k'moi ha-bayis. Teva is like the Beis HaMikdash. The Teva, in a certain sense, was like the Beis HaMikdash. The Kedusha of the world was concentrated all in that place, in the Teva. The rest of the world, all the Tumah was outside of the Teva. Noach, the Hatzadik, it's like a Teva. A Teva is like the Beis HaMikdash. There's Medrashim like that also. Then he says that the end of Kapitel Chavtes in Tehillim ends Hashem L'Mabul Yashar. Chazal say that the Eibishter settled that he won't bring a Mabul anymore. He says the Rekeach. What comes after Kapitel Chavtes? After Hashem L'Mabul Yashar, we look and tell him, comes Mizmashiach and Ukus Habayis. So the Rekeach makes the connection that when was Hashem L'Mabul Yashar? When was the complete impression of the Dera Mabul was removed? When Shlomo HaMelech built the Beis HaMikdash. That's when it was Hashem L'Mabul Yashar. But what's the explanation of all this stuff? So the Kakarian explains, it's like a explanation. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world that there should be Shekhinah down here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a world that he should dwell down here in this world. And Chazal tell us that the first there is one day after the other there weren't behaving themselves, and they said that the Shekhinah, they removed the Shekhinah from this world until the day Mabul sent the Shekhinah away. So there was no Shekhinah left. The only place where there was a little bit of Hashras Shekhinah was in the Teva. The Teva is not a solid foundation exactly. It's on the water. It's a rocky ship. But over there was a little bit of a semblance of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shekhinah B'Tachtonim. As long as the Shekhinah didn't come down B'Tachtonim in a permanent place, it's still a Rishon of the Dera Mabul. The Shekhinah didn't come back yet. So that's why until Shlomo HaMelech built the Beis HaMikdash, to show that the Mabul is not finished yet. Every year came again. 40 days, a shtickle Mabul, to show that you still have a problem. Where's the Shekhinah? You didn't build a bias yet. You have a Teva, but you don't have a bias. Teva is Kimoya bias, but you don't have a bias. Shlomo HaMelech built the Beis HaMikdash. His Mashiach Hanukas HaBayis. That's when you have it stopped. The Mabul is over because the Shekhinah is back to Tachtonim. So very can bring. The Bnei Sosa brings that there's a Kabbalah that the Binyan Habayis HaShlishi will be in Chodesh Cheshvan. We hope so. Maybe that's where the Arabs picked up this idea. Like Olponim, the Binyan Bayi Shlishi is Meyusid on Chodesh Sheshvan. Like Olponim, that's one beautiful word. I'm going to share with you another word if I have time. I'll have to, too fast, I don't know what I'm saying. It says in Svarim, it's printed back in the Baal Shem Tov, OSTorah, other Svarim as well. The Baal Shem Tov met, there was a Yid in the Baal Shem Tov's time, a very big tzaddik, his name was Rab Leib Soros. His mother was, name was Sarah, they call her Leib Soros. It says the Baal Shem Tov met Rab Leib Soros, he was in charge of the tzaddikim on the store. And he asked, Rab Leib Soros asked the Baal Shem Tov, what shot in the measurements of the table? Also said this big Seidish there. What's the shot in the measurements of the table? Chamishim. It's measurements. Chamishim Amma, 300 Amas, 30 Amas, Amma Techalena, Malamala. What is shot in that? So the Baal Shem Tov said to Rabbi Soros, if you're asking me, tell me I have something to say. Say what you want to say. So he said like this, and I'll explain just very big kids. It says in Pasuk Vatimolei ha'oretz chamas. The world was full of chamas. Chamas means thievery and robbery, grabbing without control. The oisius of chamas, he says like this: the keiches of ra that there is in the world is the nachash. The nachash represents the keich ra, and there's the samech mem. There's a malach that's in charge of the Ras called Samech Mem. We call him Samech Mem. His full name is, every malach has Aleph Lamed in the end. Samech Mem, Aleph Lamed. So which are the keiches of Ra? Not the Aleph Lamed. Keiches of Ra is the Samech Mem. Which is the keiches? Nachash. Which is the Ikke keich of Ra? Is the middle is always the strongest Chelik of the word. The Ches, which represents Cheshach, Cheshach, that's the Tzala Tova. The Nun and the Shin, that belongs to Kedusha. You have Shaka, you have Aleph Dalet Nun Yud. The Nun and the Shin are Isis of Kedusha. The Lamed is Isis of Kedusha, and the Aleph. So the Nekuda is that what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did was, the world was full of Hamas. Afal became still and all, as long as there's a kesher between the tzaddik, the kedusha, the good and the bad, there can't be destruction. Because there's still a kesher to leich. The only way to bring the mabel is to take leich and separate him from the rest of the world. So the tumah has no unique, has no kesher to the kedusha. So we're separating totally the good and the bad. So in the table went all the good, and outside the table is all the bad. Maybe he says, so what's the chelik of good? Atimolei ha'oretz chamas. The ches and the mem and the samach, that stayed outside of the table. The other oisius, which are left, which is the shin. The shin and the nun from nachash, and the aleph and the lamed from samach mem, those are the measurements of the table, because they went into the table. HaKadosh Baruch Hu separated the good from the bad. So those are the oisius of Toiv, and the rest of the oisius of good. I'm going to stop over here. We should have a good Chodesh.
Schor, Ramal.
Very you can.
I just couldn't get the message over to my son.